cracked spines. Yay or nay?
Hello and welcome to my booktube channel, Jack and the Book Stack, where I talk about a wide variety of book genres and the bookish lifestyle. And if you're curious what I mean by that, then just stay tuned because you are going to see what I mean in this video. Because I want to start reading Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I've been wanting to read this for a while, but it shot up my priority list when I saw Hulu announcing that they were going to do a limited series adaptation of Great Expectations. It is produced, I think, by Ridley Scott, who did The Alien, I think. I'm not a big movie buff, but like my boyfriend was really excited to see this announcement. And the trailer looks so dark and ominous and spooky, and it really made me want to dive into this a lot faster. So I am going to do a 3-part video series on Great Expectations. In this video, considered to be part 1, we're going to do a reading vlog. I am going to pull up SparkNotes. I'm going to start researching themes and symbolism. I'm going to come up with my annotation strategy because I will be annotating this edition for characters, theme, symbolism, all those things I just mentioned. I'll just see what else I want to do in this strategy, this annotation strategy. And then I'm going to save my in-depth book review for a part 2 video, kind of bringing everything together, the examples of the themes and symbolism, the things I annotate, and my overall thoughts on it. So I'll save that discussion for a part 2. And then the part 3 video is going to be after I watch the show on Hulu. I want to do a book versus TV adaptation analysis or review for you. So there's gonna be a whole lot of Great Expectations, so buckle up. I hope you're ready. Let's go ahead and dive into this bad boy and get started. I just finished my initial research on SparkNotes for Great Expectations, and I am so hyped to read this. I want to tell you so much the things that I read about, but I think I'm going to save a lot of that for my book review video because I can talk about examples I uncovered or my reactions to it if I agreed with SparkNotes, so I'm going to save that. But I was able to confirm what I want to annotate in the book, so I'm going to tell you about that right now. I am going to use these rainbow tabs. Of all the annotation tabs I've used, I think I really like this because rather than aesthetic shades of the same color, like different shades of blue or purple, this is very distinct, so it makes it very easy to identify different elements. As I normally do, it's kind of a standard that the color pink is going to indicate moments and quotes that I love. Blue I'm going to use to signify any other emotions or reactions I have. It could be a plot twist, so I'm shocked. I could be grossed out, I could be proud, I could be sad. Any other reaction is going to be a blue tab. Now here's where we get into the SparkNotes fun, because I think I'm going to use one or both of these purple colors to indicate motifs. And this is really talking about the writing style in this book. And this is why I love SparkNotes, because I was researching the motifs in this book, and it said that nearly every element is mirrored or doubled. Things come in like pairs or twos. So I'm going to indicate that double element with purple, and also comparison of characters to inanimate objects. That's another motif that I am going to highlight with purple tabs. One of the themes SparkNotes mentioned was family, so I'm going to highlight that with orange. Seems like it's going to be kind of non-conventional family because we're following an orphan. So I'm really curious how family is going to play into this. But the themes that this book is known for specifically is ambition, money, and social class. That's what this book is known for. That's the bread and butter of this book. But when I think about it, ambition, money, and social class are all very closely related, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to distinguish these. So in looking at my tabs, the yellow and the green, when I take them off this board, when they're just like floating on the pages, they look very similar. So I think for the green, I'm going to do money and social class, and then yellow, ambition. Because if I get it wrong, who cares? It's gonna look pretty much the same on the book. So it's gonna be that theme. So ambition, money, and social class. Now there's nothing left to do but officially mark down those categories and then get started reading. I just finished chapter 1, which was pretty short. I'm only on page 7, but we have met our main character, Pip, who is visiting his parents' and little brother's tombstones in the graveyard of the church. So we learn that he is an orphan. He's living with his sister and her husband, the blacksmith, when he is attacked, kind of, by someone. And like he's holding him upside down and he says, "Okay, young boy, go to the blacksmith and get me these tools." And he mentions like another young man that's with him. I don't know if it's metaphorical or literal because he's saying this young man will hurt you if I don't hold him back. That could be an example of the duplicates I was mentioning. But regardless, chapter 1, super short, language is easy, and it starts out pretty action-packed. I wasn't expecting like an attack straight out of the gate. So, I'm intrigued. Page 56, and we just got to Miss Havisham's house or her estate, and it's called Sadis, but it's interesting because it means that whoever has this house could want nothing else. Very symbolic. Do you think that is a sign of ambition or money and social class? I went with tagging it for ambition, but this is what I mean. It seems so similar. I am on page 73 or chapter 10 in Great Expectations, and I am completely blown away at the tone so far. I'm shocked at how dark and creepy it really is. So at this point, the attack situation I mentioned in chapter 1 has resolved itself, but I don't want to tell you how. What we've learned is that Pip really wants to be a scholar. He's telling his brother-in-law, Joe, that's what he wants, and so he's practicing his writing and reading, and he's not too good. It's really precious and cute, but poor Joe isn't that well educated either. He doesn't know how to read. So we know that Pip's in a situation where it may be very difficult to get what he wants because they're not very well off and high in society. And so Pip is called upon to be a playmate to Estella, who is the adopted daughter to Miss Havisham, a notorious rich old lady who's a little bit eccentric and weird, but nobody really knows much about her. So Pip goes to the place. That's what I was showing you, the description, like the name of the place. And that's where it gets really interesting because Miss Havisham in herself is really weird and creepy, wearing like an old yellowed wedding dress. She's kind of crusty. She's like a crusty old lady. And on page 60, I really liked this description. Pip says, "It was then I began to understand that everything in the room had stopped, like the watch and the clock a long time ago. I noticed that Miss Havisham put down the jewel exactly on the spot from which she had taken it up. As Estella dealt the cards, I glanced at the dressing table again and saw that the shoe upon it, once white, now yellow, had never been worn. I glanced down at the foot from which the shoe was absent, and saw that the silk stocking on it, once white, now yellow, had been trodden ragged. And he's going on to talk about the pale, decayed object, the withered bridal dress on the collapsed form, and he's describing Miss Havisham as being corpse-like as she is watching them play cards. Love, love, love that description of this room. So Miss Havisham is living in like this museum, like dedicated to her heartbreak. I think she was a jilted bride, right? And so like she hasn't changed anything from that moment. And then a couple pages later, on page 64, this gets really, really weird. So Pip is still on the property. He says, I turned my eyes, a little dimmed by looking up at the frosty light, towards a great wooden beam in a low nook of the building near me on my right hand, and I saw a figure hanging there by the neck, a figure all in yellow white, with but one shoe to the feet, and it hung so that I could see the faded trimmings of the dress were like earthy paper, and that the face was Miss Havisham's, with a movement going over the whole countenance as if she were trying to call to me. In the terror of seeing the figure, and in the terror of being certain that it had not been there a moment before, I at first ran from it, and then ran towards it. And my terror was greatest of all when I found no figure there. Like, I didn't know this was a horror book. That is creepy AF. Whew. While he is hanging out with Havisham and Estella is kind of a bully, kind of a jerk. And it's through interactions with her that Pip really realizes how down on his luck he is, how common he is, how he just feels embarrassed, he feels humiliated, and he's looking at his weathered hands and his thick work boots, and he's embarrassed. So you can see this is the moment that it hits for him, that he wants more out of life. And actually on page 72 I tabbed in yellow for ambition, because he says, that was a memorable day to me, for it made great changes in me. So that whole first day at Havisham's was really monumental, and I think that's where we're going to get some great expectations. See what I did there? From Mr. Pip.
Oh my god, this lady. What do you think that is? She asked me. That, where those cobwebs are. I can't guess what it is, ma'am. It's a great cake, a bride cake, mine. Ew. I think that might be a health code violation.
Pip has just learned that a mysterious benefactor has bestowed a fortune upon him, so he is going to live under the guardianship of Mr. Jaggers, who is a lawyer in London. He's going to learn how to become a gentleman and deal with his new property and newfound fortune.
Okay, sound off in the comments down below. I need to know from you guys. Cracked spines, yay or nay? Is it something that you strive for? Something you try to avoid? Do you hate it? Do you love it? I feel like this is a very divided opinion. I don't necessarily strive for it, but I'm also not preventing it, at least for these editions. If it was like a really nice edition, I'd be kind of mad, but I'm buying these editions like to kind of throw around and show some tough love, so I don't know how I feel about it. I just finished volume 2, and while I found it a little bit slower paced, where Pip is in London learning to become a gentleman, and it lacked the dark, creepy tone of volume 1, it ended with a huge plot twist. So I am very much looking forward to volume 3 right now.
everything is just so heavily intertwined. I am mind blown right now. And you've got to know that the novel is prominently displayed on my April shelves. I have finished Great Expectations, and I did not have expectations that this would become one of my favorite classics of all time, and yet here we are, because it is definitely in the top 5, probably the top 3 of all time. I am so excited to do a deep dive book review video on this. That's going to be my part 2 video. I am planning on publishing that maybe 3 or 4 days after this one, so be sure you are subscribed so you can check that one out. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to deep dive the plot, the characters, the themes, so be sure to check that out because I have a lot of thoughts on this. But the thoughts I wanted to update you on right now was my annotation strategy. I definitely did pretty well. I think I surprised myself with the number of blue tabs, which were emotional reactions that I had, because there was a lot going on a lot of plot twists that caught me off guard. The one that I didn't tab a lot were the purple tabs for motifs, where I was talking about how in my research, I read that Dickens likes to do doubles or pairs or like balance things out. Other than there being 2 convicts and potentially 2 love interests, I didn't see too much of that, and I definitely didn't see any of comparing characters to inanimate objects. I don't know if I just was in the zone and missed it, but I had it in the back of my mind and I didn't tab anything for that. So I don't know if I would recommend those tabs, but in place of that, I would probably tab the theme or the element of guilt, because Pip definitely felt a lot of guilt in different areas and it weighed him down and his conscience as he was battling his ambitions with his inner goodness and loyalty and what he felt was right. So I'd probably switch those out, but otherwise annotations were great. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in this reading vlog for Great Expectations. I will see you in the next video where I'm doing a full-length book review on it.